What we did is we gave a number sense assessment right at the beginning, and almost everybody scored a 0. And so we kind of, went from there.
Welcome to the University of Wyoming College of Education podcast. I'm your host, Becky Goodman. I'm here with Michelle Tudor, an alum of our curriculum and instruction program. Michelle, welcome. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and career path?
Sure. Thanks for having me. My name is Michelle Tudor. I am from Lexington, Kentucky, and I just recently retired from a 26-year teaching career. I've been an elementary school teacher, a school administrator. I've worked for the Department of Education, and then I graduated from the University of Wyoming in 2024 with a doctorate in mathematics education.
You had a hunch about a better way to teach math before you went back to school. How did you figure that out?
Well, so it actually came out of a reading intervention. Well, it came from two things, really. I told you I'd gone to that math development, and it was called Advantage Math Recovery through the U.S. Math Recovery Council. And it was really the first time I'd learned about the developmental progression of math learning. And if there's a breakdown, really you can't go further till you fix that breakdown. And so then at the school I was working at, we were using a reading intervention called RISE by Jan Richardson. And it broke down reading into parts. So the kids would be in a classroom and small groups of children would rotate. And on one table, they would work on phonics. And in another table, they would work on just actually reading. Another table, they would work on writing. And so breaking it down like that, we were seeing really good results. It was the intense instruction in all those parts. And I started thinking, well, there has to be a way to do that in math. We have to be able to break down those parts and really get kids up to level quickly. So I could break down those parts and teach, adding to 10 for 6 weeks, but then they've missed out on, something else that they need. So we need to be able to do this all at the same time. So I really started thinking about how that could be. And in the Advantage Math Recovery, we talk about 3 different parts of learning math is number words and numerals. Do I know what the numbers are? Can I recognize them? Can I say them? Do I know what comes before? Do I know what comes after? Those sort of things. And then there's addition and subtraction. And in that, we just start very basic. We learned the combinations of 5 first. What are all the ways you can make 5? And then you move to the combinations of 10. And then the last one is called structuring. And that's where we really get into how can you move numbers around and make sense of them. So if I'm going to, like we talked about earlier, I'm going to do 2-digit addition. I'm going to anchor to those 10s. Can I make a 10 and make my adding easier? And so we teach kids how to make 10s, a lot of this, what that is, and then you move on. And at the beginning, it all looks very similar. If we get a kindergartner who doesn't have a lot of number sense, the things they're going to be doing in those 3 groups are going to look very similar to each other. But as they start gaining skills, then they start to separate out. And we're really getting those 3 skills in a 45-minute time block. Whereas if a child was getting pulled for intervention, they might get pulled for 15 or 20 minutes at a time. And so they might get a little snippet of those, but they're not getting that intense instruction. And it's happening every day. So my principal was nice enough to let me try this at our school. And we scheduled a 45-minute block every day in kindergarten. And actually the first year we did it in first grade as well, because we were just coming back from COVID. Ooh. And those were the kindergartners who had missed 3/4 of the year. They'd done it online, which it's really hard to learn to count and read online. So they needed this instruction as well. And so for 45 minutes every day was dedicated to this early number sense instruction. And we had an intervention teacher pushed into every classroom, and we used the kindergarten assistants as well. So when kindergarten was doing a whole group math lesson, those assistants would go over to first grade to help during that small group time. So there were always 3 adults in the room working with the kids. So there was very little downtime for the children as far as they were in front of an adult being instructed the entire 45 minutes.
Wow. Did you see a large improvement in math test scores just with that 45 minutes a day intervention?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure what to expect. I mean, obviously I was hoping it was going to work out the way I thought it was. And so what we did is we gave a number sense assessment right at the beginning. And almost everybody scored a 0. And so we kind of, went from there. And then in the middle of the year, in December, we gave that same screener again. And the growth was tremendous. I mean, it was obvious that something was going on. And the MAP scores, it took a little longer for MAP scores to catch up, just because that's assessing a whole different set of things. But in the early number sense area, yes, we saw tremendous growth. And in fact, some of the kids had unbelievable growth on their MAP score by the end of the year. So what I really wanted to do, and I didn't get to do this and I would love to do it again, is to follow those kids longitudinally through, like, what does this in kindergarten mean for you in 5th grade? Did it make a difference for you? If we just looked historically and compared. Unfortunately, I did not get to that. Maybe that's my, future project. I don't know. But as far as that, those kids, yes, it made a difference. And everybody in the school saw the difference that it made. And it was very much it became a part of, like, oh, this is what we're doing for the next 2 years. We did that again. And actually upper grades were like, can you help us with that? Could we do something like that? Because they recognized their kids were missing those things too. So, and we tried to do as much as we could partially, have some people help in those rooms as well.
Wow. That's really, really interesting. I remember taking a MAP test as a child and just being so anxious. So I know that if I had that support and was told, you're going to be fine, you've been doing math every day, all day, I would have been like, oh, I am fine. That would have made me feel so much better. So I'm just sure also, even if they, didn't grow as much in terms of math sense, their confidence as a student still grew, which allowed later on growth for their, math sense to come in because they know that they're capable of doing it.
Yeah. And one of the things I didn't mention is that every student participated. We did not, if you were an EL student, you participated. If you were a special education student, you participated. It was for everybody. And it was very much a hands-on activity. There were no worksheets. Kids were using manipulatives. They were, if we did any writing, we were writing on whiteboards just, so we could learn number formation and we could start putting numbers together in different ways. But it was very much developmentally appropriate for kindergarten and 1st grade students to be working that way.
So why do so many children lack number sense?
There's a lot of reasons. One thing is we don't teach it well necessarily in kindergarten. Oftentimes number sense is considered a unit in kindergarten. It should really be all you do in kindergarten. Actually, it should be most of what you do in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, to be honest with you. We have a lot of teachers who, unfortunately, their math education did not include a lot about how to teach number sense. And so when you don't know those things, you fall back on what you know. And so we start teaching math the way we were taught math. And that's not necessarily conducive to building a lot of number sense. Math is one of the only things that you'll hear people tell you, I'm not good at math. And so when we even have teachers, I had to ask teachers, I said, please stop telling your students that, because then they believe, well, if you're not good at math, I'm probably not going to be good at math either, because we don't tell people, oh, I'm not good at reading, right? We never say that, but lots of people will say, I'm not good at math. And we have to change that belief. You're not a math person or you are a math person. Everybody can learn math equally. And so we have to change that. There's a whole thing about it. There's a lot of people who have math trauma because they weren't taught in a way that was very friendly to learning, and so they develop that image of, I'm not a math person, I can't do this, and that really affects a lot. It affects a lot. It affects later career choices even. So
I really like that. I remember I personally had always said the whole math thing, but then as I got older, I remember my math teacher showed us a video that was it was on YouTube, and it was saying that everyone can be good at math. It was kind of along with what you were saying. And it just made me feel wow, if I just kind of open that, let down that, veil and release that, then a lot of the learning can come. So I think that's really important.
It is. And I teach a college class online, math for elementary teachers. And at the beginning, they write in a discussion post about what their math experience has been like or how they feel about math. And there really is so much math trauma. I mean, these are people who want to be teachers and, they feel bad about themselves as mathematicians, or they, have had terrible experiences where teachers told them, you're not good at math. And so it's really hard to overcome those things. It's also hard when you've been taught math procedurally, like you've just been taught to follow a process. And then when you want to become a teacher, you have to start thinking about it conceptually. Like, what does this mean when I'm doing this in math? What does this procedure, what is it actually taking me through? And so that's a hard switch for people to make sometimes. And so just that whole feeling of I can't do this or I'm not good at this kind of just perpetuates, unfortunately.